Hey guys, welcome to another Achieve More podcast. With me, as always, I have my co-host Michael from Huddle Card Collection, and today we have a very special guest. We have Trent Brock on the program, and we're going to be talking about how he's overcome cancer not once, not twice, but 3 times. How he's started businesses all throughout the process, and we're going to just hear a little bit about his life and his testimony, and just to see what he's been through. And if any of you guys are facing situations that seem hopeless, today we're here to just provide a little bit more hope into your situation and to let you know that, hey, if Trent has overcome this, so can you. So, Trent, thank you so much for being here.
Yes,
And I'm super excited to hear your story, man. Just what I've heard about you so far, I'm pumped. So,
cool.
again, what can you tell us about yourself? The floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm from the deep South, man, Shreveport, Louisiana, and grew up in the Bible Belt kind of thing. Graduated with an IT degree, and that started my career. And I started traveling around the country doing big IT projects for big companies. And then that took me internationally, and I ended up at the bottom end of the world in New Zealand. Super cool, beautiful place, awesome people. Doing my IT thing, and I got to do some cool projects on that side of the world, traveling around, and met some guys in the boxing gym back in 2012. Yeah, 2012. Hanging around the boxing gym, just training. These American guys had come in. They were training for some fights. And their manager's entrepreneurial guy, had several businesses. Well, he had a kettle corn business in his home state of Washington. He did, kind of in the spring and the summer, doing the craft market thing, going out there, popping popcorn right there and selling it. Well, we just kept talking and hanging around and, stuff. And we decided we were going to do this popcorn business, right? They didn't have it in New Zealand. The salty sweet combo of popcorn. Everybody loves it. And I just knew it was going to be a hit, right? So we got a little bit of money together, and we started going out on the weekends. I'm still doing the IT thing, and then on the weekends, man, and in 6 months, I quit IT. And, there's a whole lot in between. I mean, we could do a whole story and a book on that. But 14 years in the business, grew, started a manufacturing plant, had a couple of plants, several popcorn lines, like one of the factories, big as a football field. Doing popcorn, grew to be the number 2 popcorn in the country, supplying all the supermarkets, Australasia, the Middle East. And that was me, the popcorn man,
That's awesome. What made you get into popcorn, like, specifically? Was it just a business opportunity that presented itself, or do you just really like popcorn?
Well, but I wanted to do my own thing, right? 20, 30 years ago, right? The definition of success was you have to own your own business. If you want to be successful, you can't do that working for somebody. And so, I'd done, the corporate thing for 10 years. I was sick of it. I wanted something new. And I just thought it was a chance. And I thought, hey man, it's not, I'm a hard worker. I got good common sense. I'm not the smartest guy around, but I'm kind of a bulldog, and I'll go for it. So, let's try this and see what happens. I mean, the risk was low. Minimal risk, right? Just go out on the weekends and see if it works.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So when you were doing this, to my understanding, was the business in New Zealand?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in New Zealand. I was living in New Zealand. I'm a New Zealand citizen. I lived in New Zealand about 17 years in total.
What are some of your fondest memories from living in New Zealand?
Well, the seasons are opposite. So, our summer is Christmas time.
Oh, wow.
And so, and man, the Kiwi lifestyle, man, it's a white people island, it's on island time, right? And so it's really laid back in some regards, and then it's got a little bit of the intensity, but the whole thing, in Latin America, mañana, well, that goes there too. And people are really nice. It's really laid back, but your career, that's just a little piece of your life, right? And It's just a different kind of, they're a lot more green. They're a bit more kind of not hippie-ish, but kind of that lifestyle and that kind of thing. So hey, it's not everybody, but compared to the general, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so they're just a lot more open-minded, and it's a different place, but it's beautiful. So to answer your question, everybody takes off in the summer, right? Several weeks. Like the
Mm-hmm.
whole country shuts down except service jobs, and people go to the beach and hang around. So,
Oh, wow.
I live 500 meters from the beach, man. So we
That's
get out the
awesome.
barbecue, we take the ice chest down to the
Mm-hmm.
beach, man, and we hang around and go to the beach and barbecue and, drink some beer and do our thing and putz around. And, that's a fun time. Missing Christmas kind of sucked, right?
I'm sure.
So we kind of had the orphan Christmas thing, right? And it'd be just a bunch of us that, from all over the world that would get together and, do that. And so that was super cool. Yeah.
Did you fish while you were there?
I did some fishing. Yeah. I did some fishing. Fishing's really good there, right out in the harbor. So, yeah. Yeah.
Cool. What made you decide to come back to the States?
Well, I had some health issues. And, in short, they really couldn't solve them in New Zealand, and kind of just left me in a terminal cancer situation. So, I really didn't have any choice but to come back here, and it was rough. It was I had been given a year to live. All my surgeons told me that you aren't going to make it through this, and they basically just kind of gave up on me. It's a public healthcare system, and I figured out looking back that, I had pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer with treatment is less than a 5% chance of survival. So it was a business decision. They just kind of kept pushing me off and kind of wrote me off. But before that, there was hip cancer and lung cancer. So I kind of had the whole thing. It was a rough couple of years.
So how do you get through something like that when the doctor comes to you after you've been through cancer multiple times and he says you've got a year and it seems hopeless? Like what pulls you through something like that?
Well, I'll tell you what. It was up and down. This was about a 2-year deal, right? That started, and the hip thing. With the hip cancer, they cut out the cancer, but they removed so much of it. You know what? I kind of just have some props and stuff. They really help people. So this hip cancer, like normally when they remove the cancer from somebody that has it like this, they take the leg off. Okay. And so there was a big fight, over several months of them trying to make an implant and get it in. That it'd take them 2 months to do an implant, and then it wouldn't fit. Right? They're like, oh, they do the X-rays and get ready to put it in. They're like, it won't fit because the cancer's progressed. And I'm like, well, you guys, 2 months, of course, right? So, third time through, they're like, well, we're gonna cut the leg off, and I lost it, and by that time, I kind of had gotten my parent, I gotten smarter with, when this big news, you better have somebody as a support person, because what would happen to me the first couple of times is you get this news that you're not expecting and you kind of black out, and you have these conversations and you're talking about stuff and you're making decisions and life, death, limb decisions, and you don't even remember what you talked about when it's over, right? So I had my parents on the phone when they were like, we're going to cut the leg off, and my dad stepped in and he just said, look, nuh-uh. You've been telling us for 6 months you're gonna fix this, and you're not cutting his leg off. You're gonna give him a chance. My son is a fighter. He's not a quitter. He is a guy that will make this thing work. But if you cut the leg off, he has no chance. And the doctor's like, well, if we do that, the leg's gonna be shorter than the other. He's gonna be handicapped. We will not guarantee feeling, functionality, or anything. It'll be more like a stump. He'll have a better quality of life if we cut it off. And my dad said, we're not cutting it off. Cut it off later. Don't cut it off now. He can't handle it, So they left it, right? And it did it. It left me handicapped with a leg shorter than the other. And this is what it looked like after the surgery. So you can see that's the normal side of my hip. That's where they removed everything. Okay, totally gone. And they put a little wire down there to keep the leg from ticking up. right? And so this is a real replica of my actual pelvis. So you can see, like this is the hip side. There's the spine. Well, there's just like nothing there. I mean, look how much bone they took out, man. You know, I mean, and my butt, and almost all my butt's gone. My abs, my front of my leg, the side. I mean, they ripped me in half. But they got the cancer, but it got infected, and I had 6 or 7 more surgeries to get over that, and couldn't get over the infection. But I healed up enough after 4 months in the hospital. They released me. I wanted to get out of there, right? So I got out, and that was cool. That was pretty dramatic with everything. Mom and Dad went home.
Is this in Louisiana at this point?
No. I'm still in New Zealand. This is all in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And Mom and Dad went home, and I just, I had been working the whole time, right? Just pop my laptop up on my phone, on my, food tray, and make phone calls and doing whatever I could do, right? It was my escape from that, People are like, how did you run your business, for 5-6 years through all this? And I'm like, if I didn't have it, I think I'd have lost it, So, okay. So we get out, Mom and Dad go home. I get my scan. Pancreatic and lung cancer. You got to be kidding. Okay. Between that surgery, between the diagnosis and the surgery, COVID hit, locked us down, isolation, very strict. That's a whole nother deal, right? Very lonely. No one can come in out of the country, And I mean, you in the hospital, no one can visit you. You're alone. You are alone. Have the pancreas surgery. That's fine, but misdiagnosis. They cut out half of my pancreas and spleen, and it was a blood clot on my pancreas. So, cool, I didn't have cancer, but, man, obviously, right? God didn't put those things in you if you didn't need them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bittersweet deal. And I'm like, okay, well, I beat it. Technically, we beat this thing. Maybe that was the way out. Maybe that was how I got out of, how I got out of this. Okay, fine. Next thing, the lung. So we do the lung surgery, and they cut out one of my lobes. That was fine, but that was infected. And the hip was still infected from a year. This was about a year later after the original surgery. And I had been in, man, I just had decided, these guys have had their shot. I had about a cantaloupe size void in my hip of infected fluid. And you just can't imagine the pain and the agony. I mean, every step, every time you move, anything you do, I mean, just excruciating. But I didn't want to touch it anymore. So I had, the lung thing, and I'm hopped up on the drugs, man. And they found out I'm in the hospital, and they come in, and they're like, the wire's causing the infection. We're taking it out. Okay, whatever, right? You're just kind of under the influence. You got nobody there. It's kind of, you don't even know you're in La La Land, right? Well, so they did the surgery and they took it out, but they had a junior surgeon do it, which I thought the head surgeon was going to do it, and they botched it up really bad, terribly bad. So they took it out, and over time, this is what it resulted in. So you can see that my leg bone was here, and it moved up to here. So you can see from that to that. And this is the shoe that I was wearing. That is about almost a 4.5 inch lift. It is the largest, biggest lift I've ever known of. And every time I go in to see anybody, a prosthetic guy, an orthopedic, PT, whatever, they're like, oh my God, that's the biggest lift shoe I've ever seen. So I'm obviously a spectacle, a sideshow at the fair. Still on crutches, doing my thing, right? And they caused a surgical hernia that they didn't think was ever going to grow up. They would cut me from my belly button to my spine, halfway down my leg, fillet me open, cut the leg off, do what they need to do, and sew me back up. This is a surgical hernia. Okay, this is actually so you can see they would have cut me like this. Okay, after it healed up. Okay, that's my intestine. So that, and it caused bladder issues, man, thinking I need to go up to the bathroom all the time when I don't. And you can imagine trying to get up and down with this leg, trying to go to the bathroom 4 or 5 times a night, right? So anyways, okay, couple months of that, get out of the hospital, just trying to get back into normal life. The next scan, no, you've really got pancreas cancer for real. When they found it, it was about the size of a couple of nickels, right, on the scan. And by that time, man, I was getting the scan reports. I was looking at everything. I was, evaluating stuff. Well, I'm going in and it's like, I want to do radiation. Like, okay, but we need to get a biopsy this time because last time you wouldn't allow me to have one and you were wrong. So this time we're doing one. Took about 4 or 5 months to get to that point. My stomach's hurting. I'm losing weight. I can't eat. I'm basically on smoothies. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like, you're dying, dude. You're dying. Well, I had the biopsy and it was cancer. And the tumor grew to the size of a tennis ball in like 5-6 months. Okay. Me and this doctor, man, just back and forth, and I'm just thinking, goodness gracious, I'm just going to go pay some private doctors. So I lined up a pancreatic doctor, a radiation guy, and an oncologist. I just hit them all in like a week, right? And I go in and they're all just like, you're not going to make it. You're not going to do anything. And the radiologist just said, look, because I was holding out to zap the thing. That's what I wanted to do. You cut out your pancreas, you're a diabetic. I'm not going out that way. My grandmother was a diabetic. I didn't want that life. So, they're kind of promising me they're going to do the radiation. I talked to this guy. And he's like, look, it's growing into your stomach. It's too dangerous. It's too serious. We can't do anything. And I'm like, why didn't we do something 5 or 6 months ago? You guys have been screwing around and I'm going to die now, And I'm like, so what are my options, man? And he's like, you don't have any. There's none. And I said, so I'm going to go home and wait to die, dude? And he said, I can't help you. You can leave now. That's when I got the lowest I got. Okay. I sat around the house for a couple weeks, right? Literally thinking, am I going to hang myself or not? I'm tired, man. I've been fighting this, and everybody, just started dropping. All of my doctors were like, you had a good run. This is going to get you. Pancreatic thing, nobody beats pancreatic cancer. I mean, you beat it once already, you can't beat it twice, counting me out, man. And I was on the phone, I had an appointment, at the hospital, and usually I call my folks after we kind of have a debrief. And, my parents, man, they're awesome people. They're strong. They're the reason I'm still here, held me together. And, we were a team, man. We fought this thing, strong Christians, never bought into it when I, would lose my composure and things. And I just heard it in their voices, they were starting to lose hope. They were beginning to give up. And I know they were thinking, there's nothing we can do. Our kid's fixing to die in New Zealand. And there's nothing we can do about it. And, I just thought, you know what? I'm on the phone and you know what? I hear this. I'm a fighter. I'm not a quitter. I can figure this out. That voice, the thing that my dad said when this thing all started, right? And I just thought, dude, I got to stay alive. I can't die on these guys. I can't die on my parents, man. A friend, my brother's best friend, had cancer for a couple of years. And, close friend of the family, my aunt and uncle's godless, right? He died of cancer at 38. A year before I had gotten cancer, left his wife and kids. Can't believe how sad that was, man. And I'm just thinking, I can't do this, man. To my mom and dad, and I'm thinking, I solve problems every day with this popcorn business. I'm a business owner, but dude, I just solve problems all day. That's all I do is fix people's problems. I got to fix these problems. It's just a lot of problems. It's all these little problems. If I can fix all these little problems, maybe I can do this. And so, we figured out a way for me to get insurance, and I came home. And, went to the local clinic. I just thought, God, let's just start at home. It was so tough on my folks, being in New Zealand, having to be in a hotel and coming to the hospital every day. And I thought it'd be so much nicer just to have a home cooked meal at home, be at home, sleep in your own bed, that kind of thing. So went to the clinic up the road, man, and this guy, man, this is where it all turned around and just gave me that hope. He just said, look, Trent, if I think, man, if you give me a chance, I think I can zap this thing. But if we don't do it soon, you're going to die, man. So we better do it, and just give me a shot at it. I'm pretty sure I can get this. So we did. I mean, about what was it? It was 2021, man. So a few years ago, this month, I was getting radiation, and it grew to the size of a freaking softball when they zapped the thing, man. And yeah, I mean, and so had to wait 3 months for the scans, and dude, we got it. We nailed it.
That's
we
awesome.
thing, man. So I was like, this is great. So when I got here, I had three goals. I'm gonna beat this cancer. I got to beat this infection, and I'm gonna get a hip implant somewhere somehow. In New Zealand, they told me you'll never walk again. You'll be in a wheelchair, crutches the rest of your life. And that'll be that. This is not repairable. You'll never get a hip implant. You'll never find anybody. I'm like, man, I just never give up. I just never give up, right? I kept getting told no all around the country with different doctors about this is infection. We can't do anything. There's nothing there. How can we even bolt anything to you? It's just impossible. Well, I had to get this infection done. So I found a doctor here in Northwest Arkansas through my little network that I kind of had developed. I mean, dude, it was total God, doing this, right? Found this guy, man, little bulldog. He's just coming, first time I see him, he's like, I looked at your x-rays. I've already talked to, the senior orthopedic that hooked us up. He said, we're going to get this infection, Trent. We're going to get this thing. I'm going to nail this. I'm going to give you some stuff you've never had. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. It's going to be miserable, but you're going to get it. And when you need when you need me to go to the orthopedic and say, he's clear, I'll fight for you, man. We will make this happen. I'm going to get you a chance at having a surgery. I can't guarantee anything on the leg, but I will get the infection. So, we had to do several months of IV, antibiotics, made me sick. I couldn't eat, just the whole thing with my guts. And it was terrible. 3 months every day, 2 hours of antibiotics, IV stuff. Rough, man, rough. But hey, we got it. Got it, right? So now I'm going back to all these doctors, and I'm saying, well, I don't have an infection anymore. Can we do something? And it's like, no. Some of them just told me, just don't come back. Like really big hospitals that
Oh, wow.
I mean, big ones, right? And, I go back to this advisor, I just kept going back to him every 6 months. He's like, man, you beat the cancer. All right. Well, I mean, now you're beating the infection. Okay. Well, I got a guy for you at Mayo. And I said, dude, I've been to Mayo, man. They turned me away. And he said, you haven't talked to this guy. I said, okay. So he hooked me up with this guy. He was a University of Arkansas graduate, had worked under my senior orthopedic advisor. And this guy does hips and knees and no one else does. This is his thing. And so last year, we had a series of surgeries, 3-part deal, several surgeries, over several months. And I have the largest, most complex hip implant ever done in the world with procedures that have never been attempted. And it's a case study kind of thing. And, I'm close to walking, man. I'm going to be, I'm on the crutch now, man. So this is what a normal hip implant looks like. Okay. Just that little thing right there. This is what the Big Daddy looks like. So those are like rods. So let me see. Let me find this piece. Yeah. So this is like the $1 million piece. Okay. You can see where, that's where like the joint goes in, right? Mm-hmm. And I never, ever get this right. But, like with the pelvis and this thing fits in here some way, but you get the idea. So, it's kind of, hopefully they put it in the right way, For sure. So, we put the thing in, man, and it's been going all right. I mean, those rods go all the way across my pelvis, through all my guts to the other side. Some of those rods and stuff and screws are in my back and my spine. And, it's just an engineering project, man, that they tried on some crazy dude. Somebody's got to be first, right? Somebody's got to be the first guy to do it.
It's funny you were saying that, and that's what was going through my mind when people start to think, and There's always got to be somebody who's the first of something. There's always somebody who's the first of something, and people have to say, why not me?
You got it. You got it. Hey, man, everybody remembers the first and the last and nothing in between, you know?
Mhm.
And, one of the things that I thought that was super cool at Mayo is, I had been told I was never going to walk again, right? And so, this leg with this shoe, I was going to the gym, I was exercising, I had gone to the prosthetic guys, they developed like this custom like type fiberglass like sleeve thing that I could slip on and pull all the way up and like bolt, kind of belted around me, and I could go to the gym, man, and I could lift weights. I could squat. I could squat like 180 pounds, and they told me I'd never even be able to use the leg again. But, it didn't work right, man. It had nothing to pull against, right? And there's nothing, it's just jello in there. So I had kind of developed, this kind of scar tissue of a hip thing. And, I was just on my merry way, and I didn't even think that I was ever going to get a chance with this hip, but I was going to learn to walk in one way or another. You will not deny me of that, man. I want to carry my dinner to the table, and, so we just, we did that. But one of the things, right, I was nervous because my life was okay. I'd kind of gotten to a point where, it was going all right. And, I was, the cancer free, and am I going to go through and do all these surgeries, put myself through this again? How much more can this leg take? And so I said, hey, look, I'm going to talk to one of the guys that you've done surgery on. I want to talk to one of your patients. And, because it's very different being on the other side of the knife, right? And most doctors that have been on the other side, they have a little compassion. The ones that don't, they don't understand. If you've been in the situation, you have empathy. If you don't, you can try, but you really don't know. So I talked to this guy, man, and, we had a good conversation, and, that kind of nailed it for me. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. What I want to do now, right, is help people on their cancer journey, help people, kind of be able to self-advocate for themselves in the whole medical field, and, when you're a patient and things like that. So, I sold the popcorn business back in February, and good Lord, man, working remotely for 3 years trying to run a factory. We held the thing together, but God, man, that's tough, That's
to go through everything you're going through and build an international business is
and to be the number 2 in a country that's a tall task, even being healthy. Like,
sure,
that's incredible what you've done. Like,
appreciate it,
man. Kudos to you. Like, I couldn't even imagine. And
I really try not to compare myself to anybody. I just want to do the best me of me,
Yeah.
And on occasion I will compare myself to somebody. Like, for example, this is a good way. When I had the pancreatic cancer, I'd go on the internet and I found this older gentleman that had pancreas cancer, and he had radiation, and he got his zapped, and it was successful, and he made it. And I thought, well, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it, because I'm doing all these other things, right? I got my diet, I've changed my diet, my mental health, and all my self-help, and all the stuff I had to do there, my spiritual life, and the exercise and all the stuff that I've been doing. Like, all the things I'm doing, I got a good chance. If this guy can do it, I can do it, so yeah.
That's awesome. So that was one thing I was actually going to ask. Was there anybody that you looked up to in the process? And it's always good, because right now I believe that you're going to be that guy to somebody else, especially with what you do now, with sharing your story.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've probably been that guy for so many people at this point. What does that mean for you to be on the other side now? And like, you are now that guy.
You know what? I really, truly believe that, God gave me a way out of this terrible situation, because that is what my purpose is, to tell my story on platforms like this, just so people can hear it, they can know, and just like you said at the beginning, just provide a little bit of hope, man, and it's like, look at what this guy went through. And hey, man, it has been horrible. It has not been easy. I still have terrible days. I mean, we all do. I'm just not, you're not finished. You're not at the finish line. You're still, I'm still in the race. I'm still in the race. I just got over one of the hills, I've overcome a mountain, but there's always a new one in front of you, right? So, I've learned a lot. I've gotten smarter. I know a little easier path to go, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, it's just I just think that's why I'm still here, and this is one of the things, right? I really like to kind of differentiate this point. A lot of people think, God did this to you, or God allowed this to happen, or, this. No, it has nothing to do with that. Okay. The world is a terrible place, right? It all got screwed up, thousands of years ago with Adam and Eve and the whole deal. The world is Satan's domain. God gave, his finest creation, human beings, a way out with Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the cause of horrible things that happen are from the devil. And, the opportunities to have a way out are caused by God. And so in the same way that Jesus came, I feel like God gave me a way out. And so, and I've struggled, man. I've struggled when I thought, I thought, man, when I get this biopsy, it's not going to be cancer. I'm just holding out. I'm just hanging out. When I do this biopsy, it's that's going to be the miracle. Well, it wasn't. And I was devastated. How am I going to beat this? I'm going to die of this now. That was my only chance, right? And if I would have stayed in New Zealand, right, it would have killed me most likely. But if let's say it wasn't cancer, let's say that it was just a tumor or it went away or whatever. Okay, I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity to come back to America, to clear up the infection and walk again. So I would have been stuck, and I would not have ever gotten the opportunity to come back here to Arkansas, right? Of all the places I could have gone, right? I could have gone to any hospital in the country. I could have gone to see anybody, right? But I had, my conscience, my whatever, my intuition told me, stay close to home, do it here. And I, man, I mean, I wouldn't have even found this doctor at Mayo unless I had been here in this network of all these things. So, God did have a better plan. I beat the cancer, the infection, and I'm going to walk again. I was going to be happy just to not, beat the cancer. But, I have God gave me a better chance, man, a better opportunity, and that's kind of a couple of the things, right, that I've learned through this that I didn't kind of know, or the trust, or whatever you want to call that. So,
couple questions for you. We have a few segments we like to do towards the end of the podcast. The first one is called No Dumb Questions. This is where we go to social media and let a viewer ask a question. So the question is, did you ever try any holistic or natural remedies as you were going through the process?
Yes, definitely, to a degree. My perspective is, if there's any sort of a natural alternative instead of, a synthetically made drug, I always opt for that. Right. Mm-hmm. So if I can do something naturally, I will, and my perspective is, the fewer synthetic things that you have in you, the better. But hey, sometimes you can't get around it, right? So that's kind of my perspective on that kind of thing. But I yoga helped me a lot. Meditation helped me immensely. It really helped me with this whole, most people that do any meditation have heard of the one leaves by a river. It's kind of a common meditation that people do, and it's just kind of about being able to separate yourself and leave your problems, and they're on the leaves and they go down the stream. And if you've never done meditation, you're going to think it's weird, and and I do too. And the first several times that you do meditation and stuff like that, you don't think it works, but it does. And over time, and you do this for about 10 minutes a day, and over a couple of weeks, man, that anxiety and that pressure and those things, they started to go away. And I would just think, no, 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 I'm not going to buy into it, because I've already put those little cancer cells on those leaves, and they've just floated down the river and they're gone. And there's some other meditations and stuff like that I've used. Let me think. The yoga helped me a lot to get going, and I've used tapping. I've used some tapping stuff before. Like there's some certain spots where you use tapping and stuff like that to help you through anxiety. My perspective is, cancer really wasn't even around until like the 40s and the 50s, right? That's kind of when it really happened, when we had the industrial age, when they started manufacturing all this stuff and, making the world a better place to live. But it also has caused a lot of problems. And I think, you know what, back in the old days, what did they do? They didn't have all this medication. They used natural things. They used natural stuff, and they did natural things. So I think a lot of times, there's just something very, very local that you can do that can improve your chances or your health or your, or whatever. And, so I kind of think like, what they do a couple hundred years ago when they didn't have all this, doctors and pharmacy and all that, you had to use something natural. So I kind of think the home remedy things, there's something to them. They work on a lot of stuff, Yeah.
Cool. It is interesting. So I have my youngest daughter, my middle child, 3. She's actually a clinical pharmacist at a hospital in Huntsville.
Okay.
She's married. My son-in-law, he's a pharmacist for the VA. Mm-hmm. And my oldest daughter is actually starting her 4th year she just started her 4th year of medical school,
Wow.
So it's interesting having the medical people, at home, at a part of the family and everything, because, like I've had a couple little things, this, that, and other thing, and, hey, I went to the doctor, he told me this kind of stuff, and they read it and they're like, okay, Dad, here, here's this, here's that, here's the good, here's the bad, here's what you got to do, and so on and so forth. So it's to your point, when you have, I've had somebody to talk to. I cannot imagine in 2020 of you sitting in a hospital in New Zealand, which doesn't make a difference. I mean, that was your home at that point in time, right? So you're sitting in a hospital at home, going through all this, and no one can be there.
No.
How do you mentally? I mean, how did you get? I mean, to me, you talk. There are a lot of people who don't believe in the high power, and I don't understand how they don't. But to me, that's one of those things where you had a co-pilot. There may not have been anybody physically in that room with you, but you had a co-pilot sitting in that chair that was next to your bed, man.
Man, you know what? I look back on it, and you know what? I can't believe it sometimes. We've just kind of focused on the health situation, but there is a whole nother mess going on with this business. Okay. That was affecting me. I mean, we were in trouble, of losing it and a whole lot of other stuff. I had a whole falling out with my roommates and flatmates over the COVID thing. We were on no speaking terms for like a year and a half. I had no one to speak to. I did not go anywhere in the entire house except in and out of my room for like a year and a half. And we did not speak at all. I just could not handle, it was so toxic. It was so negative. And it was just a big disagreement over kind of how, the COVID thing was. So that really sucked because I had no one at home to talk to. And, so that made it even worse, every area that I can think of that could have been bad was just about the worst it could have been. I mean, the Christmas before I came home in the spring of 21, I had a chance to go with one of my staff members that was kind of one of my buddies. Man, he really took care of me. Like, I mean, the guy would help me in and out of the car when I would go to the factory and get my lunch for me and bring me dinner and and all that kind of stuff. Went to his little camp that we were out, by the ocean doing our thing. On Christmas, no, on New Year's Eve, okay, my business partner calls me, and it's like 8 o'clock, right? Hanging around. I mean, I am in bad shape, man. I've got this whole leg thing going on. I just had the lung thing, right? I'm dying of pancreatic cancer. And, I'm just trying to hang around, man. I'm in a lounge chair, just, I'm just a mess. And he calls me and he says, look, we're $15,000 in the hole. You have to come up with the money or we're going to go bankrupt. It's your job to figure this out before the 5th of January. I've done everything I can do. This is on you. I'm on the phone sitting there beside my staff member, right? And I'm like trying to hide it because I can't have him know that. I mean, he would freak out, like, oh, the company's going to go bankrupt. I'm not going to have a job, that whole thing. And, you get off the phone. He's like, oh, how was your chat? How did that go? I was like, oh man, everything's great. Everything's good. And I'm just thinking, how am I going to fix this? I don't even know what I'm going to do. It's New Year's Eve, I mean, I mean, I mean, that's just like getting slapped in the face with a bag of poop, man. It's bad. Yeah, I agree with you. I honestly would I mean, some days I just didn't want to get out of the bed, and my team would just keep calling me. And they would just keep calling, going like, Trent, you have to come to work. We can't fix this without you, man. And I'm like, I'm not coming in. And they're like, you have to. We need you. And you know what? That got me out. It got me out some days, And I'm thankful for that. I would go into my factory, man. I mean, I would strategically like get my stuff and I would get in the car and go to the factory. I would get in the car and out of the car twice a day. That was it. Going to the factory, in my office, laying on the couch until I was going home. I'd be on the couch laying on it. They'd come in, they'd sit at my desk, and they'd be like, the first couple of times they're like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, well, would you rather me be here or the hospital? And they're like, we'd rather you be here. And I'm like, would you rather me be here or be home? We'd rather you be here. I said, well, then I'm here, but you got to sit at my desk and you're the boss. I'm just the consultant now, right? Hey man, you got to break it down into little pieces. And I mean, like some days, man, it was just too much to even think about trying to get through the day. I'm just trying to get myself to lunchtime. Yeah. I'm just trying to get myself to lunchtime. I'm just trying to get myself to this next meeting, and it's like, wow, I did that, and just try the little wins, man, little wins. I had to cut out all the negative stuff, right? And that was kind of the thing with the roommates and stuff. I mean, it's like, the toxicity, the negative stuff on TV, done with that. I'm just done. And just powering in, just slamming in that positive stuff, self-help books and audios or this and that. I'm talking like anything from miracle sermons to, miracle stories to, some guy that, fell out of his apartment, doing something stupid and broke his neck and was told to never walk again. And a story about his life. And he learned to walk again and just, positive. And the yoga. If I wasn't at work, man, I was trying to do something to better my 5% chance of dying or living. And, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it was. And there's really not a big secret to it. There's really not a big like magic formula. It's really hard work and consistency and winning the little things, winning the little decisions, right?
Mhm.
And the thing that worked really good for me was, if I got, I got on something, I heard a song or, a particular, teaching or, a podcast or something. And I really liked it. It was kind of became like my little mantra for that time. Dude, I would just put it on repeat and I would listen to it over and over and over. I'm talking like 100 times if I had to, right? For 3 or 4 or 5 days, playing it all day, all night, while I sleep, while I do anything, in the background at work, going home. It is the only thing I listen to. I fall asleep listening to it. I wake up listening to it. I was listening to it. And I knew that it was in my conscience when I would wake up and I was saying it to myself or I was thinking it to myself or whatever. I'm like, okay, that's in you now. Move on to the next thing,
Awesome.
And hey, I'll tell you what, man, you got a problem and you hear something that works. If you do that, it'll fix it. You know, it'll
Yeah.
fix it.
It's great
It's that
advice.
simple. It's that simple. It's that simple.
Yeah.
But you know what? People get distracted, or they lose faith that it's not going to work, or they get tired of it, or whatever. They make a whole bunch of excuses. But that right there is a very simple formula, and it wins. I'm here.
Makes a lot of sense.
I'm here.
So one final segment for you, and then we'll let
Sure.
you go. Be mindful
Okay.
of your time.
Yeah.
So last segment is we have to ask. You do not have to answer. My final question is, what does the future hold for you? Like, do you have any plans? Obviously, I know you want to be walking, and you have great plans for that. Do you have any plans once you are walking? Any
Man,
crazy, like, I'm gonna climb Mount Kilimanjaro type stuff, like, because I know God's able. So
man, you know what? That's so funny that you say that. I mean, I'm kind of feeling like, is this a sign? I have done Kilimanjaro. I did that about, God, maybe, about 15 years ago with a buddy. We
Oh,
had
wow.
traveled, we were traveling around Africa, and one of the things that we want to do. So I've been to the top already.
it's really awesome.
And it has been in my mind toying with how cool would it be for a guy with this hip to get to the top of it and back. But, as well, there's a lot of risk that I could do something to where,
sure.
what's the risk versus reward. But, now you kind of got me thinking about it. But I'll tell you what, man. I've sold the business, and I was kind of having a midlife crisis. It's like, what am I going to do with myself? In the middle of all this, in the middle of everything, right? I lost my identity. I had moved back home. I don't know anybody here. I mean, all my friends are in New Zealand. I live with my parents. I mean, I don't know anybody here. This is their home. I've had to cultivate friendships and relationships and all that stuff. And, I just thought, well, what I like the best out of owning that popcorn business. My favorite thing out of all the stuff was, besides, putting together a really big deal and get a couple of hundred stores or something like that. Selling, making a big sale is like it's a big hit, man. It's a big, big adrenaline. But I've only had, probably about 3, maybe 4 staff members that I've had over the time that I had Kettlecore, man. I've had hundreds of staff members, right? Those few that came back and said, you took a chance on me. You taught me what you knew. You taught me everything I know. You gave me confidence. I've moved on, in my career, which is fine, right? No problem. You come with respect, you leave with respect, do a good job while you're here. All good with that, no problem. But, I'm successful in my job because of you, in my career, and I have a job that puts, food on the table and, and a home for my kids and family to live in. And I wouldn't have had that if you never gave me a chance. And, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I like. So, started a bit of a coaching business thing. I do some public speaking when I get opportunities to do that. I'm happy to come on podcast at any time with people and do this. I love doing this. But helping people on their cancer journey, kind of coaching people through their health journey, their cancer journey, and helping them being a better advocate for themselves in the healthcare, area. People just, they don't do that. They don't know how to be the quarterback of it. They just take that information from the doctor and they just take it for the gospel, and it's like, hey, you know what? We need the doctors. We need them. They need to be part of your team, but they don't need to be the final authority. You should have the call. You're the quarterback here. They're on the team. They're a part of this. Don't get caught up with that's the end all be all. They don't know you like you do because you've been inside your body your entire life, you know? And so I think it needs to be a more cohesive, teamwork deal, and it'll help the doctors and the medical professionals, right? If the patients are more prepared, the doctors can do a better job. And, so I'm putting together some courses and things, just some simple stuff like just how to go in and be prepared for a doctor's appointment and get the most out of it, right? And these are a lot of the things that trip me up or I got caught on or, don't go to the doctor and you go to one and your insurance doesn't cover it because then you're going to have to pay for it, and or how to prepare for a surgery and what it's going to really be like on the other side. And these are some of the things that no one's going to tell you. They're going to help you, and then kind of a cancer journey thing. So, and I'm happy to talk to people about their specific situation and help give them some of the skills and tools that they need to get in there and advocate for themselves. So, that's kind of what I'm doing now, man. I mean, I want to leave a legacy of just helping people.
That's amazing. God bless you for it.
Yeah.
Hope this business is even more successful than the popcorn, and you were number 2 in the entire country. So
hopefully
you'll be number 1 at this.
I really think it will be, man. I have a real passion for it. I just think it's my purpose. And, it just, I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but God, man, I mean, I've been through a lot, and man, if somebody wants to book a call me, my website's TrentBrockCoaching.com. It's super easy. You can go on, you see what I do. You can book a call with me. You can send me an email. And hey, man, let's have a chat. If I can help you, I'm going to help you. And if I can't, I'll recommend somebody that can. So that's kind of my gig now. That's what I'm trying to do.
That's awesome, man. Is there anywhere besides your website where people can follow you?
Absolutely. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I got my little social media thing going. I'm on YouTube as well. And my profile picture is this thing, man. I got the victory pose because, hey, you know what? We're winning. We're still here, right? We're winning.
Brother.
So,
amen. Yeah, I'll make sure I link all of that stuff in the description of the podcast. Michael, before we let you go, where can everybody find you?
Hey, huddlecardcollection.com, not .com. I don't have a website. What the hell's wrong with me? Huddle Card Collection on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and stuff like that. So, we have some fun in the, sports cards industry. So, if you're into that kind of stuff, come on, hang out. Do a live show, do a live podcast every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. and talk to people about, the whole sports card industry. So trying to do my little part,
Yeah.
If I can help one person, awesome.
Yeah. Well, can you help me with a Ken Griffey Jr. Rookie card?
I'm sure both of us
actually have one hanging on the wall.
Man, how much is that worth?
I only have an 8, so mine's only worth like $100. But but yeah, if you have like a 10, they're worth like probably 4 times as much.
Wow, that's cool.
But that's such a classic card. That was one of like the cards me and my best friend Marty grew up like chasing when we were kids. So like I have a fond attachment to the Griffey. Again, I really appreciate your time today, man. This has been wonderful. For anybody that is watching this, if you'd like to leave some comments down below, if you have any further questions or anything like that, we'll definitely respond to them. If you'd like to see this in video format, it will be uploaded onto my YouTube channel, Picksburgh with a CK. For anybody that wants to see the video. Other than that, audio will be up on Spotify, Apple, and all of the other podcasting platforms. But Trent, again, thank you so much for your time today. We genuinely appreciate you, brother. This has been a heck of a lot of fun.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys letting me come on. It's just, hey, man, if we help one person, we did it, man. You
Amen,
know?
man.
So thanks, guys.
Great story. God bless you, brother. God bless you, brother.
I'm from the city. I'm from the city. The city is. I'm from the city. The city is.